Namaskaram. Welcome to today's class on various treatises composed on Indian dance practice, Indian dance drama practice. Please note today's class is a part of Karnataka State Gangubai Hangal University's senior exam preparation. I'm Mahima and I'll be introducing you to various treatises that have been composed. We'll understand the practice and theory that have been kept in mind while the great scholars composed these treatises and learning a great deal about their contribution to the art form. With that, let us get started with understanding what treatises are in the first place. Please note that I'll be looking at multiple places. This is my camera, while this is my screen and this is where I write. So if you find me looking around, that is the reason. So let us start with understanding what treatises are. So a treatise is a systematic written work that presents principal theories and rules of a particular subject. In our case, that subject being dance or dance drama, in a detailed, structured manner. So what can we see in treatises? We can see theories and definitions of various technical terms such as rasa, bhava, abhinaya, so on and so forth. We can see lists of angas, pratyangas. We can see description of performance. So how do you do a particular chari? How do you do a particular hasta? So on and so forth. And this is a written evidence of the same. So Indian treatises were found as palm leaf manuscripts, and they were then studied. So any treatise was found in multiple places as multiple manuscripts. They were all studied together to come out about a critical edition of the same, which has been done by various art scholars and historians. And treatises are, if you have to understand or remember one word, the word would be documentation. Right? So it is a documentation of the then practices of Indian art, of the then performance repertoire or of the then used footwork or hand movements of. It's the documentation of dance or dance drama or whatever the author has written about at that particular time period. So if I were to document something today as a, say, a thesis or something, that would be another documentation. I commonly joke about this and take it as a joke. I feel the Natya Shastra is Bharata Muni's massive PhD thesis, which is documented that way. Anyway, jokes apart, the first treatise which we will be studying is the Natya Shastra. So, first few things that we have to know is try to get facts right. So, first point is the date of Natya Shastra. So, Natya Shastra is one of the first treatises on Indian poetics, Indian literature, Indian dance, drama, music and anything. And hence it is sort of difficult to carbon date Natya Shastra's time period because it is one of the earliest treatises ever written. So people, historians, scholars, carbon dated to say around 200 BCE, that is before Common Era, to 200 CE. So that is quite a vast time period. But as I told, since it's one of the first treatises ever written, and Bharata Muni explicitly hasn't mentioned anywhere as to in which time period he's writing, it has been dated approximately. And we know that Natya Shastra is written by Bharata Muni. So these are some facts that you should never forget. So who is Bharata Muni? There is a lot of scholarly debate and discussion happening with this regard. Some people believe Bharata Muni was the sage Bharata who received the Natya Veda from Brahma. And other scholars believe Bharata Muni was a dancer who documented the practices of his period as the Natya Shastra. And in fact, Kapila Vatsyayan, a famous great art historian, believes Bharata is actually not one person, but a group of artists who pursued and performed this art, who came together to write this treatise. So that is something that is a discussion. But for exam purposes, you can attribute the Natya Shastra to sage Bharata. going forward. As I mentioned, Bharatanatyam Shastra is one of the earliest and one of the most comprehensive works that ever came about, because Natya Shastra is basically like my guru Rupashivan tells, is an encyclopedia of art. It has everything that artists did or artists needed at that period of time. Probably the only thing that is missing from Natya Shastra is the concept of presenting art digitally on a screen. So nonetheless, it is one of the earliest treatises and one of the most comprehensive treatises. Artists who came after that, or sorry, scholars who came after that, picked one element and wrote extensively about it. That could be dance drama, or it could be Sangeeta, or it could be anything else, visual art. However, Natya Shastra is a complete package of its own. So Natya Shastra is also commonly called Natya Veda, which is believed to be the fifth Veda. Why? Because we believe that Brahma took elements from the four Vedas to create this, which is the fifth Veda. Another few things that you want to keep in mind is Natya Shastra generally has 36 chapters, though some scholars argue that it has 37 chapters. Since it is a palm leaf manuscript and there are multiple evidences, this both are commonly acceptable. What are the core concepts that is covered in the Natya Shastra? We have to definitely talk about the rasa theory, which later led to many scholars debate, discuss, argue about the implications of Bharata's rasa theory, or the applications of rasa theory, or the basic concept of how rasa comes about, manifests itself. The next thing it talks about is abhinaya, various forms or modes of expression and communication. It talks about ranga, the stage. It talks about music and what not. So in this instance, in chapter 6 of Natya Shastra, so basically Natya Shastra is a back and forth conversation between a few disciples and Bharata, where Bharata, they ask questions and Bharata resolves it. So they ask, tell me exactly what is there in Natya Shastra, and Bharata gives full one shloka or one verse which describes the entire Natya Shastra. Let me just, I won't be able to add a screen, is it? Let's take a minute. I'll just check if I can add a blank screen. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to add, so I'll just like adjust and write here. So he, or I can maybe just wipe this out. So he gives a list. We call it popularly the 11 elements of Natya Shastra, a list which describes exactly what is there in the great text. He starts with, the shloka goes as follows: Rasa bhava hyabhinayaha dharmi vritti pravrittayaha siddhisvarastatatodyam ganam rangascha sangrahaha. He says in the Natya Shastra there is rasa, there is bhava, there is abhinaya, there is dharmi, that is Loka Dharmi, Natya Dharmi, Vritti, Pravritti, there is Siddhi, there is Swara, there is Atodya, there is Gana, and Ranga. Okay, so he says these are the explanations to which you can find in the Natya Shastra. We'll just go by a few that we find integral. That is rasa. We know Bharata has given the famous Rasa Sutra, that is Tatra Vibhava Anubhava Vibhichari Sanyogat Rasa Nishpattihi. How does rasa get manifested? With the combination or the confluence of Vibhava, Anubhava and Vyabhichari Bhava. And the next bhava is what he refers to as vibhava, anubhava, vibhachari bhava. The next thing he talks about is abhinaya, chaturvida abhinaya, that is angika, vachika, aharya and satvika. Then he talks about dharmi, styles of presentation. Loka dharmi, that is presentation of things in a colloquial manner, or natya dharmi, presentation of things in a stylized manner. Vritti, he speaks about the four vrittis. Bharati vritti, Satvati vritti, Arbhati vritti and Kaishiki vritti. Next he speaks about pravrittis or regional diversity. That is Avanti, Dakshinatya, Panchali, Odramagadi. Next he speaks about Siddhi, Daivi Siddhi, Manushi Siddhi, Swara, Atodya, that is instruments. He speaks about four categories, Tatha, Avanadha, Ghana, Sushira. Then he speaks about Gana, music. Ranga, he speaks about the proscenium stage. He says there is Vikrishta, Chaturashra, Trishra, so on and so forth. And though you may not have the need to know about all of this in detail, it is good to know. In Abhinaya, in Angika Abhinaya, he speaks about Karanas and Angaharas. Karana, which is the basic unit of dance, which involves Chari, foot movements, or Nritta Hastas. Karana is a precursor to today's Adavas of Bharatanatyam, and he speaks about Angaharas, which is a group of Karanas. Then he speaks about Tandava, and he speaks about all of these things. So this is an introduction to Natya Shastra. Natya Shastra is one of the first and most important treatises ever written on the concept of dance drama. The first chapter of Natya Shastra is Natyotpatti, where Bharata speaks about how dance came about in this world. When there was a dharma prevailing in the beginning of Treta Yuga, all Devatas went with Indra as their leader to Brahma to ask him to create audio-visual form of entertainment. Kridaniya kamichhamo drishyam shravyam cha. So he takes ingredients from the four Vedas, Jagrahya Pathyam Rigvedat Samabhyo Sangeetam Evacha, Yajurvedadapi Rayantasana Tharvanadapi, and creates the Natya Veda. That is the first chapter of Natya Veda, Natya Shastra. So these are the facts that you want to know about Natya Shastra. With that, let us move to the next treatise, which is another extremely important treatise, that is Sharangadeva's Sangeeta Ratnakara. A lot of people call him Sarangadeva, it's actually Sharangadeva. Sharangadeva. Okay. So this is a 13th century text. Let us go with facts first. Sangeeta Ratnakara is a 13th century text, and it has 7 chapters. Each chapter dealing with one important concept. The chapters are, you may not need to know this in detail. The chapters are Swaradhyaya, the chapter on notes, Ragadhyaya, chapter on ragas, Prakiranadhyaya, Prabandhadhyaya. Prabandha, please understand, Prabandha is a precursor to today's Kritis, Kirtanams or Devarnamas. So all of the different variations that we speak about today in music, everything was called Prabandha. It has Prakiranadhyaya, Prabandhadhyaya, followed by Taladhyaya, Vadyadhyaya, and then it has Nrittadhyaya based on dance. So one of my teachers called or told me that Sangeeta Ratnakara is called Deheli Pradeepa. Because it stands as a lamp on a wall where it illuminates things on either sides. Why? Because Sangeeta Ratnakara is written at a point of time where the Indian music tradition changed, and he not only documented everything that happened between Bharata and him, but also wrote about what he is seeing in his contemporary period. Hence, Sangeeta Ratnakara is one of the most important treatises on music and dance. which talks about things that have happened and things that are happening at his point of time. So he speaks about classification of music and ragas. In terms of dance, he speaks about nritta techniques, which had already evolved at this point. He speaks about Karanas Angaharas. He also speaks about Deshi, that is regional practices. So why Sangeeta Ratnakara is important? It is considered as the last treatise before the music system before the music system's divergence happened. So this is all you need to know about Sangeeta Ratnakara. Next, with that, let's go to the next treatise, which is Abhinaya Darpana. Abhinaya Darpana, our favorite treatise, because all our hastas, padabhedas, vinyogas, everything is from Abhinaya Darpana. We know Abhinaya Darpana is, it is dated between 10th and 12th century. And we know its famous author to be Nandikeshwara. Right? Now, Abhinaya Darpana, as the name suggests, it is literally a practical manual on Abhinaya. It discusses the Chaturveda Abhinaya in extreme detail. So, the entire practical the theory aspects or the theoretical evidence or the backing of any practice of Bharatanatyam is from the text Abhinaya Darpana. So when we refer to any hastas that we use in Bharatanatyam, it is from Abhinaya Darpana, the padas, padabhedas, so on and so forth. What is there in Abhinaya Darpana? We speak mainly about hand gestures. Oh, and by the way, Abhinaya Darpana means mirror of gestures, mirror of Abhinaya. Darpana means mirror. So we speak about hand gestures or hastas. There it is divided into asamita hastas and samita hastas. We speak about body movements or body in general, where we speak about anga, pratyanga, and also upanga. Right? We speak about eye, eyebrow, neck, head, torso movements, and our famous, today it's become a quote, or the famous word Natyakrama, Yato hastas tato drishtihi, is actually from Abhinaya Darpana. Okay, so Abhinaya Darpana is the grammar base for Bharatanatyam. Okay, and this is the one text which is essential for Bharatanatyam practice. So that, my friends, is about Abhinaya Darpana. Remember the author mandatorily and the period in which and the content of the treatise. We will now go to Dasharupaka. So is Dasharupaka a concept that is discussed in the Natya Shastra? Very much yes. So Rupaka is Rupaka, or the dance drama, has 10 types under it. So it starts from Nataka, Prakarana, Dima, Ihamriga. So there are 10 types of Rupaka that can be done. So what I want to emphasize at this point is dance at that period did not exist as a single stream. Like we see today, there is only dance. So if you want to watch theatre, you go to theatre. If you want to attend a music kacheri, you go to music kacheri. However, all arts were one at that period of time, which had dance, music and theatre or visual art, all of it together. So this entire dance drama had 10 subtypes based on the length, based on the plot, based on the kind of characters, which we will learn eventually. So this was a concept that was mentioned in the Natya Shastra, the 10 types of Rupakas. However, an author who wrote extensively about it and documented the contemporary practices of Dasharupakas during his period was Dhananjaya. Acharya Dhananjaya in his text Dasharupaka, which is dated to around 10th century. Right? So what is Dasharupaka? It is a treatise on dramaturgy. Dramaturgy. And it is basically derived from the Natya Shastra concept of Dasharupaka. Right? What are the 10 types of drama? I'll just let you know. It is Nataka, Prakarana, Bhana, Prahasana, Vithi, Samavakara, Dima, Ihamriga, Anka and Vyayoga. So Samavakara was the Asura Digvijaya or the Samudra Mathana that was presented by Bharata and his 100 disciples or sons, and the Vyayoga, Madhyama Vyayoga, all these are examples. Okay, he speaks in detail about these 10 types of dramas or dance dramas. He speaks about their plot. What is the kind of a plot that is seen in Natya Shastra? He speaks about the types of characters that we see in these. He speaks about the rasa that is there. He also speaks about various rules of performance. Right? He also speaks about stage conventions. What is to be presented on stage, what is not to be presented on stage, and he speaks about characterization, narration. So basically anything that you can think of that comes under the purview of the drama. So this is Dasharupaka. Things you might want to keep in mind is the name of the author, Dhananjaya, the time period it was written in, that is 10th century. The 10 Rupakas, I shall just make a list. It is Nataka. I don't think you need this, but nonetheless, Nataka, Prakarana. Sorry, I just lost the list. Nataka, Prakarana, Bhana, Prahasana, Iha Mriga, Dima, Vyayoga, Samavakara, Anka is the 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is the last one? Vithi. Okay. Alright. So all this while we've been speaking about various treatises that were primarily written in Sanskrit. Lasya Ranjana is a unique Kannada treatise. So this treatise is written on classical dance, and it is in verse by verse format, which is not focusing on lot on theory, but basically on the practical aspects of dance. Okay, so when can we date this text to? Lasya Ranjana can be dated to somewhere between 14th and 16th century, and the author is Simha Bhupala. Simha Bhupala is the author. Okay, so apparently the manuscript was dated to 1583. So think we don't have for a lot of treatises. So what is Lasya Ranjana? As I mentioned, it's not a purely theoretical treatise. It is description of practical aspects of dance. So it's description of the various practical aspects of dance. It is written for dancers and various practitioners of dance. How is the Lasya Ranjana text structured? It is written in 8 chapters, where there are, say, verses written in a certain meter, and the verses have a explanation in prose. This prose explanation. What are the various topics that are covered in the Lasya Ranjana? Nothing that we don't know. It is Angas, Pratyangas and Upangas. He also speaks about Karanas, Karanas and Angaharas. Karanas and Angaharas, followed by Charis, Mandalas, Hastas, and so on and so forth. And it is based on earlier texts of Natya Shastra and Sangita Ratnakara, and it includes changes and additions based on his period. And it is mainly written in Kannada. It's also, why I keep telling it is practical, is he in detail describes various movements and various techniques as to how it is done, which directly are related to practical performances. Okay, and since it is written in Kannada, it is also accessible to regional dancers or regional dance practitioners, and it is a confluence of the Marga format and the Desi format, meaning he describes both in detail. And I think that is all about Lasya Ranjana. With that, we come to the conclusion of this chapter or this lesson on various treatises. Please make notes and know about 3 main aspects. A treatise, when can it be dated to? Who is the author? If you can know something about the author, that is great too. And what is the content of the treatise? With these aspects, you can write in your exams about any treatise. So, thank you for listening to this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, namaskaram.